You'll find this problem in Exploration 6-7. It was the chemotherapy problem that we did in class. And so I'm going to go over again how to solve it algebraically. So the first thing that I'm going to do is get the cosine function alone. And so we can use some easy algebra to subtract over the 500. From there I'm left with 200 equals 300 cosine of 2 pi over 21 times x minus 13. My next step is going to be to divide both sides by 300, and this will then reduce down to 2/3 equals cosine 2 pi over 21 times x minus 13. So from here is oftentimes where students get stuck. And so keep in mind that we are searching for x. We're searching for something on the inside of the trig function. And so we're looking for an angle. Even though in our problem, our x variable is representing days, when we're talking about this circular function, this is representing an angle in radians. So I need to use the inverse, and the inverse function for circular functions is called arc cosine. So I'm going to take the arc cosine of both sides of the equation. So I'll have the arc cosine of 2/3, that equals the arc cosine of cosine of 2 pi over 21 times x minus 13. Now when we first learned about the arc cosine, we learned that arc cosine's job is to find all of the possible answers where y is 700. It wants all of them. It doesn't care about being a function like cosine inverse. And so arc cosine's definition came from the fact that if I know one angle for cosine, I know that the negative of that angle is also going to be a solution. And once I have these two unique spots, we've been calling the circle and the square, I can find more points by adding multiples of 2 pi. So the definition of arc cosine is plus or minus cosine inverse, and in this case that's going to be of 2/3 plus 2 pi n. So then over here what makes this problem nice is these are inverses of each other, so they cancel, and I'm just left with 2 pi over 21 times x minus 13. Okay, from here we still need to get x alone, so we have a couple more steps. To get rid of this 2 pi over 21, I'm going to multiply by 21 over 2 pi. I'm multiplying by the reciprocal to get those to cancel. Make sure that you do it to the entire side on the left, which means that I'm going to have to distribute because I have two separate terms here. From here I'm going to have plus or minus 21 2 pi times the cosine inverse of 2/3. And right here is where what we're adding is going to change to make more sense in terms of our problem. And so the 2 pi's are going to cancel, and I'm left with 21n. And if you look back to our chemotherapy problem, she had a treatment every 3 weeks, so our period was 21. So I know that once I find one answer, I can add 21 to get more. We then have x minus 13 left on the other side, so I'm then going to add 13 to both sides. So my general solution for x is 13 plus or minus 21 over 2 pi cosine inverse of 2/3. This is going to give me the circle and the square, my two starting points, plus 21n is then going to get me more answers, depending on what my problem is asking for. Okay, so in our exploration, what we were looking for specifically was the day range of when she was going to feel good after her first treatment. So this was her first treatment. Her red blood cell count dipped, went back up, and she feels good above 700. That's why we set this equal to 700. So I'm looking for these 2 points right here. So I'm going to find what these are approximately equal to. So I'm going to split this apart into two answers, two general solutions. And so I'm going to type this into my calculator, which I've already done to save some time. And so when I add the 13 plus the cosine inverse and all of this stuff, I get 15.811. And when I look back to my graph, if I were to continue this line, y equals 700, this 15.811 is then this solution right here, a circle or a square. Okay, again, it doesn't matter what you call it. And so then if I wanted more answers, I know that I can add multiples of 21n to get more. My other answer comes from 13 minus all of this by the cosine inverse, and I get 10.189. And again, that would be looking at the graph, this point right here, and I could add multiples of 21n to get more. And so what I've just found here are general solutions. And so I'll be looking for this on your test, that you can find the general solutions. This is where arc cosine comes from. We can now find any answer that we want. But to answer the problem, we're looking for these 2 points. And so I know that I need to add multiples of the period. And I need to add one multiple of the period to each of them to get those 2 points that our problem was looking for. So notice that I rounded these answers when I wrote them down, but I did use the entire answer when I added 21. And so once you add 21 to the 15.8, we get x to approximately equal 36.811, and x will approximately equal 31.189. So that tells me that on about the 31st day of the year until about the 36th day of the year is when she will feel good.